So around Christmas time, I was trying to get Christmas ready and buy the gifts. And one of the beautiful things about the time we live in is you can find anything you want. And it's really easy because you can go online, you order it, and it shows up on your doorstep. Really remarkable and amazing and super convenient. But around Christmas, one of the important things is that those things all show up on time. And so this year I made sure that I had my list of everything I needed, made sure everything was ordered, taken care of. But there was this one package that I ordered online that was supposed to come at a certain time and it didn't. And it was a gift for my son. And so it was something he really wanted and I wanted to make sure he got it, and the only place I could get it is where I had ordered it. And so it was really important. And I kept checking online in my account and I check and it'd say, oh, your package is running late. Your package is running late, which was not a big deal. But after a few days and a few more days, I got another alert and it said, well, your package is running late. If it doesn't come by Wednesday, then we'll reimburse you. Now, at this point, it had been a long time since I ordered it, and Christmas was coming. And I figured I probably still had time to order it again, but I wasn't sure. By the time I waited to see if it was actually going to get here, would I have time to order it again? And so my brain started getting a little bit nervous and wondering, is the package going to come? I ordered it, it's supposed to, but is it going to come or do I need to come up with another plan? Now, Amazon is one thing, right? We can go on to Amazon and we can see when is it coming, or if we order something from another store, we can look and we usually have updates of when it's coming and when it's supposed to be there. But sometimes prayer is not quite as well timeline accurate. We might pray for something and maybe heaven will even promise to give us blessings, but we don't get a text that says when it's going to arrive. And sometimes those blessings run late. Sometimes we think the blessing is going to come at a certain time on the timeline that makes sense to us, and it doesn't show up. And we keep praying and we keep expecting the miracle. But after the days and the days and the weeks, just like the package, we start to wonder, is it going to come? Is it going to come, or do I need to come up with another plan? And just like I did with that package, starting to doubt whether or not what they said was coming would actually arrive. Sometimes with prayer, our faith starts to waver when those answers don't come when we thought they should. And the same thing has happened to me. There have been things that have happened into my life where I thought I did the right thing and I thought I got the answer to prayer and I thought Heavenly Father told me what was going to happen. But then the weeks and the days and the months and the years passed and the answer didn't come yet. The answer didn't come yet. And it's that period in the middle, that period in the middle where having faith becomes the challenge because our brains are very human and we start to think, maybe I need to come up with plan B. Maybe I need to order another gift. Maybe I need to figure this out on my own. And today we're going to be talking about First Nephi chapters 1 through 5. And whether you're using this for come follow me or just to strengthen yourself so you can be your best and show up to do whatever God has called to do in this world, whether it be to raise your kids or to make a difference in other ways. I hope this supports you as we talk today about what to do, how to still have faith when those answers don't come. Now we're going to jump into First Nephi chapter 1, verse 20, arguably the most well-known chapter of scripture in the Book of Mormon. Probably because every time you start the Book of Mormon, this is what you read again. It says, I, Nephi, will show unto you that the tender mercies of the Lord are over all those whom he hath chosen because of their faith, to make them mighty even unto the power of deliverance. So here Nephi is telling us, this is what I'm going to show you in this book. I am going to show you the tender mercies of the Lord, how he takes care of his children and how he does it because of their faith. And I'm going to show you how that faith works, how to actually have faith in the middle when the package isn't coming. And he has a perfect example in his family. In 1 Nephi chapter 2, verses 12 and 13, we read about Laman and Lemuel. Now, Laman and Lemuel get a lot of flack because of their murmuring and their complaining. But Nephi explains to us in verse 12 why they murmur and complain. He says, they did murmur because they knew not the dealings of that God who created them. Neither did they believe that Jerusalem, that great city, could be destroyed. So their father is telling them that Jerusalem is going to be destroyed, but logically, it just doesn't make sense. Now, we give them a lot of flack, but if we're honest, a lot of the times when we doubt, when our faith wavers, it's because what is around us and what we see just doesn't make sense. And we don't see how it could possibly happen. We don't know, it doesn't make logical sense. And so our brain starts to argue with our spirit. And if we don't know the dealings of God, if we don't know how God works and we don't trust him, then it's only human nature to murmur. And all of us, including me, have done it. When those trials happen and we just don't know when or if the package is going to arrive, or if somehow it got lost somewhere between here and heaven. In 1 Nephi chapter 2, verse 16, Nephi says that his response was different. We look at Nephi as having that great strength, that great braveness and courage, but he explains here why. He said that he had a great desire to know the mysteries of God. Wherefore he says, I did cry unto the Lord, and behold, he did visit me and did soften my heart, that I did believe all the words which had been spoken of by my father. Wherefore I did not rebel. He doesn't say here that he never doubted. He doesn't say here that he never wanted to complain or murmur, or that he liked living in a tent when his house and all of his riches were back in Jerusalem. What he does say, however, is that he wanted to understand. He wanted to believe. He wanted to trust God. And so he cried unto the Lord. He cried unto the Lord and asked the Lord to help him understand. Please help me understand why we're moving to the wilderness, why we're leaving everyone and everything we love in Jerusalem to go into the wilderness when this doesn't make sense. Jerusalem is not under attack. I see no reason, no logical reason for us to do this. So please help me understand. And because he chose to do that, because he chose to go to the Lord and plead and say, I really want to complain right now, but please help me have faith, the Lord did. The Lord softened his heart. So was he completely different than Laman and Lemuel in the beginning? Maybe not. But his approach was different. He decided to go to the Lord and ask the Lord to soften his heart, to help him believe. And the Lord did. And that is why Nephi was able not to rebel. Now, Nephi went to the Lord and said, please help me. Please help me understand. But his brothers responded differently. In chapter 3, verse 5, it says, and now behold, thy brothers murmur, saying it is a hard thing which I have required of them. So Laman and Lemuel looked at what was being asked of them, what the Lord and their father were asking them to do. And they said, this is hard. This is not fun. We don't like this. And so they complained. But Nephi, who was also being asked to do the same hard, yucky thing, in 1 Nephi 3:7 says, for he said unto his father, I will go and do the things which the Lord hath commanded. For I know that the Lord giveth no commandments unto the children of men, save he shall prepare a way for them, that they may accomplish the thing which he commanded them. They are being asked not only to go into the wilderness, but also to go get the plates of brass from a man who wants to kill them, who has armies and power. And there is no logical reason that they should do this or that they should be able to do this. And yet Nephi says that he knows the workings of the Lord. He knows that the Lord will not ask them to do anything unless he prepares a way. And because of that, he is able to trust. He may not trust the situation, but he does know and trust God. Whereas his brothers, when they are faced with the same situation in chapter 3 of First Nephi, verses 29 and 31, we see that the brothers act completely differently. They've seen an angel. The angel has spoken to them, and yet they're still murmuring. In verse 31, it says, "And after the angel departed, Laman and Lemuel again began to murmur, saying, 'How is it possible that the Lord will deliver Laban into our hands? Behold, he is a mighty man, and he can command 50. Yea, even he can slay 50. Then why not us?'" They're using their brains, they're using their logic, and they're saying, "This isn't possible. How is it possible?" They only are able to have faith if it's not really faith, if it makes sense to their brain and if they can see the evidence. But as we all know, that's not actually faith, right? We can all believe when it's easy, when we can see it before us. But what makes Nephi different is in chapter 4, verses 1 through 3, we read his response. He says, that, "And it came to pass that I spake unto my brethren, saying, Let us go up again into Jerusalem. Let us be faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord." So they're trying to go get the plates. It's not working. It's not working, but yet he still is saying, "Let's do this. Let's do this." He says, "For behold, he," meaning the Lord, "is mightier than all the earth. Then why not mightier than Laban and his 50? Yea, or even than his tens of thousands? Therefore, let us go up. Let us be strong like unto Moses." So he sees the examples from the scriptures. He knows that the Lord delivered Moses when it didn't make sense that they should be able to walk through the Red Sea on dry ground. He knows that it doesn't make sense, and yet he trusts. And yet he trusts. And in verse 6 through 7, Nephi goes himself to try to get the plates. And it says, "And I was led by the Spirit, not knowing beforehand the things which I should do. Nevertheless, I went forth." Nephi had no idea how it was going to work out. And remember, that's exactly what his brothers said. How is it possible? Well, Nephi didn't have the answer to that. He didn't know how, but he did know who. He knew that they were being called by the Lord to do this and that the Lord would provide a way. So even though he did not know how, he went forth. And in verse 31 of chapter 4, we read, "And now I, Nephi, being a man large in stature, and also having received much strength of the Lord, therefore I did seize upon the servant of Laban and held him that he should not flee." When he went to go get the plates, he didn't know how, but yet he followed the Lord step by step. And when it came time to act, he didn't have the strength, but he recognized that he received the strength of the Lord. And in his faith, he was able to do what the Lord asked. Now, there's another trial that is happening while these boys are away, and that is the trial back in the wilderness. The sons are not the only ones being called to have faith. Their parents are too. And as a mom, I don't even know how I would react, but trust me, I fault Sariah in no way. Her boys have been asked by her husband and by the Lord, or so she hopes, to go into Jerusalem and to get the plates from, once again, a man who wants to and probably will and could kill them. So, is she nervous? Yes. Is she justified in being so? Of course. She's a mom. And just like the package, she thinks that it's going to arrive at a certain time. She thinks that if the Lord really is calling her sons to go do this, that we should be prepared and they should be back quickly, but they aren't. And as the days and maybe for all we know, weeks go by, maybe even months, it doesn't say, she's left to wonder, did something happen? Have they been killed? And in verse 2, we see what's going on with her. She said, "For she has supposed that we had perished in the wilderness. This is Nephi talking. And she also had complained against my father, telling him that he was a visionary man, saying, Behold, thou hast led us forth from the land of our inheritance, and my sons are no more, and we perish in the wilderness. And after this manner of language had my mother complained against my father. This is her fear speaking. She just loves her kids and she's worried and she's starting to doubt. And all of us have been there where the blessing didn't come when we thought it would, and we start to doubt. And it says, after this manner of language had my mother complained. For all of us, we've experienced that too, where our words start to be negative and we start to complain and we start to doubt and we start to wonder. We start to question what we once knew was true. But Lehi uses his words differently. In verse 4, it says, And it came to pass that my father spake unto her, saying, I know that I am a visionary man. For if I had not seen the things of God in a vision, I should not have known the goodness of God, but had tarried at Jerusalem and had perished with my brethren. But behold, I have obtained a land of promise, in the which things I do rejoice. Yea, and I know that the Lord will deliver my sons out of the hands of Laban, and bring them down again unto us in the wilderness. And after this manner of language did my father Lehi comfort my mother Sariah. So I just noticed how different this was. How during the middle, in that period for all of them, when faith was so hard to come by, Laman and Lemuel murmured. They doubted, they complained. Nephi went to the Lord, and he used his words to strengthen his brethren. Out back at home, well, in the tent in the wilderness, Lehi used his words to strengthen Sariah, but Sariah's words were complaining and doubting. But when the brothers came home, when the package had arrived, it says in verse 7 and 8, And when we had returned to the tent of my father, behold, their joy was full, and my mother was comforted. And she spake, saying, Now I know of a surety that the Lord hath commanded my husband to flee into the wilderness. Yea, and I also know of a surety that the Lord hath protected my sons, and delivered them out of the hands of Laban, and given them power whereby they could accomplish the thing which the Lord commanded them. And after this manner of language did she speak. So notice her words have changed here. Now she says she knows of a surety that the Lord hath commanded her husband to flee. Now, what I love about this story is the Lord asked them to go into the wilderness, and then he asked them to go back. He could have had them get the plates before they left, but he didn't. And then when he asked the boys to go get the plates, he could have prepared the way the first time. He could have told them how to get there and how things would work out the first time, but he didn't. He didn't. And maybe, just maybe, that reason was because of what would happen in the middle. That Nephi would have to go to the Lord and find out how the Lord works. Maybe he needed to do that so he would have the strength to act in faith when it was time. And maybe Sariah needed to have her faith tested so that she would, as she said, know of a surety that the Lord was leading them. If it had happened more easily, maybe she would have just thought the boys figured it out. But because it didn't come easily, her faith became sure. And heaven knew she would need that faith for the rest of their journey. And so it is with us. Sometimes, even though the Lord could answer our prayers right away, even though he could make all of our problems go away, even though he could deliver the miracle on time, according to our timeline, sometimes he doesn't. And what we decide to do in the middle is eternally important. Because we can choose to be like Nephi and go to the Lord and say, Please soften my heart. Please help me to understand. And if we do, we are strengthened for what comes. Or we can be like Laman and Lemuel and we can complain and murmur, and we will not be different when the miracle comes than before it did. Even after the angel came, even after they were able to get the plates, Laman and Lemuel still didn't believe. They still were not strong. Did they obey from time to time, off and on? Sure. But were they changed enough to endure the trial before them? No, they weren't. And so it's my prayer for myself and for all of us that when those miracles don't come on time, and when we don't understand why the Lord is asking what he's asking and not coming through with the deliverance when we think he should, it's my prayer for all of us that we will go to the Lord and seek to understand why he does what he does and seek to trust him so that even if we don't know how, we can know who. And that knowledge will help us trust him. And it will help us trust him when maybe our kids are struggling or maybe we're struggling and we need the strength to get through that messy middle, Hey, I just wanted to make sure I invite you one more time because we're getting close to when we're starting. I am doing the 5-day free More Mom, Less Maid challenge. It's just a challenge where every day I share with you some really amazing tips on the practical ways to make creating order in your home easier and simpler, but also the spiritual and emotional side of cleaning so that what you organize actually stays clean. Now, if you're already naturally gifted at this, you're going to love the mindset and spiritual side. If you're like me and cleaning is not on, oh, I don't know, 5 million favorite things to do because it's like lower than that, then you're going to love this because we're going to go through how you change how you feel about it and how to make it flow more easily so you don't feel like you're always harping on your kids and maybe even the adults in your house to clean up after themselves. And so that things can actually stay clean longer and you can have more peace and more joy in your home. It's so fun, something I do regularly because it helps me and it helps so many other people. So it's free. All you got to do is click, I'll put the link in the description or in the comments below. You just click, let me know where to send your invite, and then you can join us, happening at the end of January. And then I will just send you that invite every day. You can join us live or catch the replay. And in 5 days, you're going to see some real changes in the stress level that cleaning brings to your life so that you can have more peace and more flow in your home. I'm Jamie Knapp. Have a wonderful week as you love your life, live your mission, and raise kids who do the same. I'll see you next week.